Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is Kevin Mireles, and I'm here today to talk to you about the importance of packaging and packing on shipping costs and emissions. So, we're going to start off with a quiz, which is a greater impact on fuel consumption, pollution generated, weight, or cubic dimensions, at least in the parcel world, but typically in transportation overall. Well, let me give you some clues. Planes and trucks almost always cube out before weighing out. Turns out cargo weight has zero impact on ocean shipping emissions. There's only a 15 to 30% change in emissions between fully loaded and an empty truck. And the plane, fuel, and aircraft itself make up the bulk of weight and emissions for an aircraft. So reduce cube to reduce costs and emissions. Really, it's package and packaging density that really drives the bulk of emissions, because it's rare that planes and trucks weigh out before they run out of space, which is ironic considering that almost all of our how we pay for things, how we price things is based on weight, but in reality dimensions tends to be the biggest issue. So let's move on to what we can do about it and what the impacts are. So today, poor packaging practices result in the average box being 20 to 40% bigger than required, which generates huge amounts of easily avoidable CO2, other air pollutants, and packaging waste, right? We've all got these big boxes with tiny items in them. In fact, that's why I'm here. I got this box, turned out it's 93% empty space, couldn't believe it. I calculated the number of shipments because it accessed all the data at FedEx, and it turns out we were shipping entire warehouses of empty space. So, start with cutting dimensions to fit more items into the same space in order to save money and cut your emissions, right? This is the calculation for both how you calculate freight, shipping freight, and how you calculate emissions, right? It's weight times distance times the efficiency of the mode equals your costs and emissions. And if you can cut all these things, you can cut your shipping costs and emissions. And today we're going to talk about cutting the weight and cubic dimensions, things that you can do. Most of them are relatively straightforward. So what's the technical term for this strategy? Rightsizing, or I say fit more stuff in the same space. So when you have poor packaging impacts, it drives a transportation impact. You're seeing like a 20 to 40% increase in miles driven and flown because you're having to use more trucks and planes than you needed. So you're needing to build more aircraft and vehicles. You need bigger than needed aircraft and vehicles. And then you have the energy required to move additional package weight. So that's the transportation impact plus the packaging impact, right? You're winding with a lot more trees cut, oil wells drilled. You have all that extra packaging, manufacturing, energy, and pollution. Then you got to dispose of it. And then you have all the increased peanuts, void fill to occupy the empty space. So it just drives waste upon waste, cost upon cost. And the thing is, small size reductions can have huge capacity increases. So after implementing a right-sizing system, a national retailer increased trailer capacity by 75%, while saving 1.3 million in packaging costs, right? It went from 800 packages per trailer to 1,400 packages per trailer. Imagine when you think about that globally, what would that do from an emissions impact? And just think about what that would do for your company, right? Another shipper avoided 90 truckloads and cutting down the equivalent of 5,600 trees, right? That's huge. And for a while, there was a big push to move from 28-foot trailers to 33-foot trailers. And they did this analysis, and they came up with all the savings. Well, just imagine the average package is 20 to 40% larger than it could be, right? You could get the same space savings, so you should be able to see similar reductions in miles traveled, shipping costs, tons of emissions. And this was done back in 2018 before the massive boom in e-commerce. So you'd see even bigger impacts. So what are some of the ways you can reduce your cube? Let's start off with design. So big shout out to Kevin Howard. He worked at HP and they designed printers so you could be stacked and shipped without boxes. They were literally able to fit 2 times as many in the same space, meaning a 50% reduction in costs and emissions, right? That's huge. So he worked as a packaging engineer. He worked with the product design team, with the logistics team to figure this all out, but they drove huge cost and emissions reduction. In addition, by being able to ship things really in bulk without packaging, they were able to postpone the packaging. So they flew things out of China and then they packaged closer to the end customer. In the case of Europe, right, they were able to save a bunch of money on their packaging and fulfillment because what was happening was they're ordering too many in German, not enough in French, or vice versa, and then having to repack them when they got to Germany, a month after they originally shipped them. Well, in this case, they got them all unboxed and they could box them, and put in the right languages as desired. So postpone your packaging, move as much in bulk as possible, right? Minimize the amount of packaging and minimize the wasted space. And then ship without, right? 11% of US Amazon orders will now ship without extra packaging. If you're able to do that, you're going to rank higher on Amazon, you're going to increase your sales, you reduce your costs. So design your products so you don't need to have extra packaging. And then correctly measure, right? We've got Terry the turtle there looking kind of grumpy, right? Because somebody entered the wrong data. So he's now 10 by 10 by 10 instead of 8 by 8 by 8. Means he's going into a 10 by 10 by 10 box, which means more costs and more impact to the planet, versus you measure him correctly, he goes into the right size box, and you spend less money, right? And it doesn't just impact the packaging, it impacts the utilization of your warehouse. It just has impact after impact after impact. So make sure you correctly measure and store those dimensions. And then use the AI to determine which boxes to buy, right? You want to upload your order history. AI recommends the options in terms of what boxes. You select the boxes to buy, and you save time, money, and the planet. And here, let me give a plug for Packard. They're not currently a sponsor, but they were. And I really like what they're doing here because they're making it very easy, right? You just take the dimensions of your shipments from the last year, you upload them, they run the analysis, no integration, no installation required. And it's a great way, again, to save money and to save the planet. Simple. And then use AI to determine which box to use. So, right, you got this order, you got these box options. Which box should you put it in? Right, this one. You can use, again, Packer has a service you can call, and it'll help you figure out what box to put things in. Woohoo! Again, you're saving time, money, and avoiding waste, impacting the planet. Ultimately, the best solution is a box on demand solution, the cut and form box specifically the shipment, right? You get your order, the box is created on demand, you put it in, you have your right size box. Now, the challenge there is implementation is going to be harder, right? You're going to take additional space in your warehouse, additional time, additional cost setup. But in an ideal world, right, you want to have box on demand where it's really creating the right size box where you're eliminating, 99% of the empty space. The next step up really is automated systems eliminate the need for manual packing and labeling, right? You're putting in the item, it's going in unboxed and coming out boxed, right? You're going to reduce labor costs by as much as 80%. Huge option. And then improve how you load your trailers, just like making sure you're right sizing your packaging, right? Putting stuff in the trailer in an optimal fashion results in huge savings as well. Some of the things you can do is use slip sheets instead of pallets for lighter items. You're reducing the weight, cost, and space it takes, and then use software to fit more into your trailers, right? So you're making more efficient usage of them. Variety of providers out there, but these are just some of the things that you can do to cut your weight in cubic dimensions. In the next segments, we'll focus on ways to minimize miles traveled. And if you need help, I'm happy to assist with calculating emissions. How do you profitably cut your emissions? Because, right, everything I talked about there saves you money and cuts your emissions. Help you develop new product offerings. If you're in the climate, logistics, supply chain space, can help you develop new products. I have 20 years of product management experience in everything from robotics to analytics. Communicate the strategy and results, right? Once you actually take these steps to reduce your emissions, improve your environmental impact, you want to be able to communicate it. Well, I'm a former journalist. I'm pretty darn good at communicating, so I'll help you do that. Educate your staff. If you like these videos, you like the way I break things down, happy to do that. Take an end-to-end look at logistics and supply chain and how you can reduce your emissions and reduce your costs. You name it. Ask me and chances are I can help you. So please reach out to me with any questions you have. Have a great day. Thank you very much. And please sign up for my newsletter and reach out with any questions you have. Have a great day.